Gates Adams here on behalf of Apex Trader Funding, and I am here today with Trevor. Trevor, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks, man. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Obviously, we have you on here because you are officially a paid trader through Apex Trader Funding, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, where are you in the process? Is this the first payout, or have you already had a few?
That was my second payout.
Second payout.
So the first payout, I'm sure, like with most new traders to Apex, it was like kind of figuring out the rules and figuring out how that all goes.
Sure.
I was doing just like a $25,000 account, had $2,200. I did $500, just to see if this was real, and then got the 500, and then promptly blew the account like an idiot. So then I kind of reset, and my second account took it to 2,000 and took out $1,500. So I was a lot smarter the second time and
Right.
kind of took the money that I had earned. So
Gotcha. Okay. So, and are you still working on the 25,000?
I am, yeah. It seems to be a sweet spot for me as
Right.
far as just kind of like the drawdown and the minimum profit and stuff like that. I don't feel like I need anything more than that to kind of
Well,
wet my whistle, I guess.
and I think that's a common thing. A lot of traders, they want to max out the size of the account, and that doesn't. Now that works for some people for sure, but that's not necessarily ideal for everybody. And a big part of this process is learning what works best for you, which obviously in your case at this point is at 25. Now, how long have you actually been trading?
So I've been trading about 3 years, so like just
Okay.
under 3 years.
Did you start with futures or did you start in a different platform?
I did not start with futures. I wish I would have started with futures. I don't know. I don't know like the history of Apex. If Apex was around 3 years ago, I wish that I would have started with Apex and futures because I feel like it's the evaluations. Maybe this isn't the point of them, but to me, it seems kind of like that perfect happy medium
Mm-hmm.
between just doing simulated trades and using your own money.
Right.
I know I've seen people that have like a million evaluations, and that seems crazy to be like wasting the money or whatever. But like, man, I would have loved to waste that amount of money versus wasting the amount of money that I actually lost doing options, for example.
Options. So options was the key entry.
It was the key
Yeah.
entry. Yep.
I've said this a bunch of times in a bunch of different arenas, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can deposit 10 grand into your account, but 10 grand buys a lot of evaluations. Now, that number obviously is going to vary from trader to trader, but I think about the early accounts that I opened up. I'm like, I could have bought a lot of evaluations with that.
Yeah, for sure. And futures is, it's interesting that the more that I am on Twitter, it seems like every person that I see eventually is saying, I think I'm going to transition completely to futures in 2024. It seemed futures are the future. I
Right.
think maybe people don't understand them, and probably with Apex as well, there's like a just a knowledge barrier to entry of understanding what exactly is going on. But once you go futures, you really never look back.
It's there's the dynamics are just so much simpler. So you started off in options. How did you end up becoming an options trader?
I think like anyone, it was what I thought was the tail end of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but kind of like the GME era.
Sure.
It seemed like a fun time to get in, and if I could have done it all over again, as far as realizing the bull ride that we were going to be on, I would have obviously done it differently. But yeah, I don't know. It seemed like everyone was getting into it, and Robinhood existed and all that stuff, and it was hard to not feel like you could get rich in
Sure.
the stock market. Yeah.
Sure. So how long did it take you to make that transition into futures?
I would say, I think like almost like a calendar year ago.
Okay.
I started my first. I have a friend that I trade with, and he was trading futures a lot, and we were looking at Tradeovate as a platform, and I was like, hey, I'll put some of my money into Tradeovate. Probably about a month later, I took all my money out of TD and put it into Tradeovate, and yeah, this was my first profitable year,
Okay.
and it was all on futures. I didn't do any options this year.
So when you made the move from options to futures, what did you expect? What was the biggest challenge to making that transition?
I don't think there was any challenge really. Everything is easier. I mean, you don't have to. With options, I would always there's that lag of selecting the actual contract. But futures, it's like if you want to go long, you buy. If you want to go short, you sell.
Sure.
So if you can, and what I like about futures compared to options is, you could start with, MES, and you can scale up from there. And, there's like one MES or two MES is like 100 shares of SPY. So at least you can feel like, hey, it feels more like investing than options would be.
Right.
And especially going long, it's like worst case scenario, you just hold forever. And you're like, hey, I have 100 shares of SPY versus like, I have some random out of the money weekly contract on, Beyond or something. It's like, what am I actually doing here? So
gotcha.
it was super. Once I understood what futures were, I mean, it's easier, it's simpler. It sounds scary, futures contracts, but like it's easier.
Got it. So how did you end up finding Apex?
I think probably like most people, I saw people talking about funded accounts or prop firms on Twitter and in certain discords that I'm in. And I remember being like, what's the point? Like if you have money, like why would you want to do that? It doesn't make sense. And the more I'm like a rules person. Like I'll read the thing, and if I understand it, I feel like I can like conquer something. I once I understood exactly what it was, it's like, why would you trade your own money if you have kind of that option of not trading with your own capital? You can have more money at your disposal. It just seemed, I don't know. And now I'm like, why aren't more people doing this? And I'm sure that that's probably what Apex is seeing as well.
So let me ask you this, because I think this was a big part of the answer. When you first heard that somebody else would basically take the financial risk for your trading, was there any skepticism associated with that?
For sure. I mean, you see the horror stories, or you see people questioning it, or like with the rules of limiting payouts over the first 3 months. You'll see a lot of people having like very low payouts or like $1,500 payouts. And I think that there's that existential question of like, if this is so awesome, then why isn't your payout 30 grand or something? So that there's that question. So once you kind of get into it and go, okay, I understand what the rules are, and I understand that they're not looking for people just to throw, buy 2 evals and go long on one and short on another, or
Right.
YOLO into FOMC. Like the rules that are set up are to prevent people from, I guess, like punting accounts or whatever they call it. So once I understood the rules, I'm like, oh, that doesn't even really apply to me, because I'm just going to trade my own system. I'm not looking to game the system. And I've had 2 payouts, and I don't know. I guess I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I don't know if it's ever going to. I don't think there is another shoe to drop.
Well, I think if you keep doing what you're doing, I think you're good to go.
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what have you learned? I mean, has there been an emotionally, mentally, or in some sort of capacity, has there been a difference for you trading through a funded account versus when you were trading your own funds?
Obviously there's less hesitancy to enter trades. I'm trading ES instead of MES. But I think that what I've realized is that, Apex seems to be pushing or like encouraging the idea of like trading multiple accounts at once. Or, you could have 20 or whatever, like, which would be mind blowing to have that many accounts at once. But if you kind of break it into chunks of like, hey, I just need to make $1,500, and oh shoot, I had 10 of them. Like, what are the chances? I almost want someone to like hook it up and like not tell me they did it, and I'm like, yay, I made $1,500 in this account. I'm like, I hooked up 20 and you didn't even know. That would be cool. But no, I think it encourages you to go, just because you can trade every day, like $1,500 isn't a lot of money to make. Just trade every other week or some day where you know what the heck is going on.
Sure.
And I think that the people that blow their accounts, and myself included, it's like, hey, I have this money, I can trade ES. I'm going to stab some random red candle, and all of a sudden you're like, all I had to do is just wait. And it's really not, I don't know, something about having the account on Apex, and especially the futures, going, it isn't really that difficult if I can just wait and be patient and wait for the actual entries versus just kind of going, okay, today I can trade. It's like, it's not my money. Like, let's go. And it's like,
Right.
Well, you're still wasting time. I mean, it's more of like, you're just wasting time.
Right.
Maybe you're not wasting your own money, but you're wasting weeks of time.
Well, and then you get to a point where you are now, where it may not be money that you fronted, but it's money that you have earned trading. So if you take a loss,
Oh,
that's
for
less of
sure.
a payout. So
Hmm.
now it is your money, and so I think I know for a lot of traders that the psychology once you get to that point is very different than having deposited, their own money, and it just makes it a little, as you were saying, a little easier to make those decisions, lack of hesitation, better decision making, and I think that that's a big key factor. I know that when I started trading with Apex, the quality of my trading started improving because of the rules and because of the
Hmm.
guidelines, because all these things that Daryl had been telling me to do for years, all of a sudden I was doing. Otherwise, I would lose my account.
No, for
And all of
sure.
a
And
sudden,
yeah.
the results start to improve. So I think there's
And
value in that
swing,
for sure.
the having to close, contracts at the end of the day. Sometimes it's like, oh, but like, I don't know. Ever since doing Apex and just not swinging, I've certainly slept a lot better at night. I mean, there was a period of time with, and they all worked out, but like over the last year where would get a little dicey or have a couple
Sure.
sleepless nights, and it all worked out. But it's been nice to kind of like come into the day, have, my game plan, and if I execute and I get over the payout, you ask for your money and send you the money. And I don't know, in a weird way, like being not like being forced to like take out money, but like, yeah, I've started to pay myself,
Hmm.
which it's very easy to kind of just, oh, I have all this money in my account. It's been nice. Obviously, it is annoying to not have the tax benefits of trading a futures account,
Right.
the 60-40 split or
Hmm.
whatever. But like, hey, at least I'd rather have 100% of 70%, after tax
I'm
than
with you.
0% of the 60-40 thing. Like, if I was
Right.
trading futures, this all would have been mine. One, I wouldn't have made it because I wouldn't have traded ES. And two, I don't know. It's nice to kind of go, okay, now I'm just breaking my life up into $1,500 chunks.
There you go. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So what is this? What has this journey brought you to at this point? Like, where are you in your world of trading?
So my world trading, I've met a bunch of really interesting, really smart people in the last 3 years. Kind of throwing around ideas of uh, integrating trading view indicators and
Mhm.
alerts and stuff with Discord. I started a Discord about 3 months ago with a couple buddies
Yeah.
called Trade Beacon, and we would have these moments where if only I had seen that alert, if
Right.
only I had seen on the 4 hour, there was a bear divergence on ES. Man, that perfect top right there. So we took the time and went on all the different time frames and all of our favorite tickers, and hooked it up through APIs to Discord. So yeah, so what I've liked is kind of trading those systems on Apex
Hmm.
and having the uh, you know not having the nervousness of entering a trade and
Right.
proving that the system works. And I think that what we've kind of built is something that other Apex traders or just traders in general. It's like I feel like when people are afraid of all the rules of Apex is because they don't have a system, and having some sort of system or some sort of like rules and guidelines.
Right.
That's what we're trying to build. So
Excellent. So if you run into somebody who's about to start their first evaluation, they're just moving into the space of being a funded trader. What's the biggest piece of advice you give somebody moving into the space?
I would say wait for a day where you know what's going on.
Okay.
Obviously, it's you don't know it until you see it, and a lot of people will say, oh well, how do you not like? There have been days in the last couple of weeks where during the day you're like, okay, like this is one of those days, like when everything's dumping for an hour, you're like, okay, this was the day I should have waited for, or some
Sure.
news comes out and you could have ridden a trend versus the day before FOMC or the morning of FOMC just getting chopped up all day.
Right.
I would rather be wrong on some sort of conviction play than death by a thousand cuts, where it's a
Yep.
$100 loss here, $150 loss here, and like, what am I even, you know, $500 loss, and then it comes back. I'm like, what am I even doing?
Right.
Especially for valuations, the only thing that you're wasting is obviously the money for the evaluation, but you're just wasting a lot of time.
Sure.
So you can have one day where you've made the majority of the money required to pass the evaluation.
Hmm.
So I would wait for those types of days,
Right.
and do other things. But yeah, you're just wasting time at the end of the day. But
Gotcha.
I think it's something that everyone should at least look into.
Right. Well, fantastic. Well, Trevor, this has been just great getting a chance to chat with you and get some insight
Thank
from
you.
you. And one of the things that I like to do is after we do one of these, a few months later, catch back up and get an update, see how everything's coming along. How would you feel about catching up here in a few months?
For sure. Sounds good.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thanks for taking some time with me today. Really appreciate it. I think we got some great insights. So hopefully we have something for some of the new traders out there, and would love to catch up here. A few months after the new year, see what things are looking like then.
Great. Thanks, Gates.
You got it. Thanks, Trevor. We'll talk to you soon.